All right. Scrambling to get some stuff together, but I think I'm about set. Sorry I'm a little late. Closed my eyes, opened them, it was half an hour later. That was not intended. So, working on scrambling to get things in order. Hope tonight finds everyone well. Hope you've all had a good weekend. So, it's another grab bag night. I am getting a reaction video up. I don't really have a lot of rambles. And then, so we've got a reaction, as always. We've got, and we've got, again, some more indie games. Continue to work through the stuff that I bought instead of Doom. Trying to think if I have anything to bring up. News-wise, I don't think I do. Just a quick little reset. Oh, I do have. Suggestion channels are still open. Hold on, why is my chat not showing? Give me a sec. Oh, it all deactivated. Why did it deactivate? Let's see. Gone through and reactivated all the chats. You guys should be able to talk to each other again. Sorry about that. Sitting here going, why is none of the chat showing? It's supposed to. Well, that's why it all wasn't activated. Sorry about that. So yeah, we have a reaction. Oh yeah. I was starting to say and then got distracted. So I am very disorganized tonight. The channels for what kind of new model you'd want to see or additions to this model are still open. However, I do have a concept artist working on a first pass of the thing in the lead. So it is, even though it'll be a while before work even actually begins on the model itself, we're probably looking at a closing window for you guys to make suggestions, requests, or whatever. So just as a heads up about that. And tonight, we'll be watching and reacted to Firearms Expert Reacts to Doom franchise guns, which of course comes out as Doom Dark Ages comes out. Though, as I said, Doom is in the doghouse for releasing at $70 instead of $60. At least with me. I know there's a lot of people that don't care, but I care. Now, it's going to be this one. I don't think I have any other opening statements or heads up this time. I spent, an hour and a half, 2 hours talking in the Friday stream. Oh, I do have one thing. I don't know if I'm going to be able to, but I'm going to attempt to do some more streams this week. So keep an eye out for if I say, hey, tonight I'm going to be streaming for a little bit.
This is Jonathan Ferguson, the Keeper of Firearms and Artillery at the Royal Armouries Museum in the UK, which houses a collection of thousands of iconic weapons from throughout history. Now, we are all big Doom fans, so in anticipation for Doom the Dark Ages, we thought we'd rewind the clock a bit and check out a selection of Doom's weaponry from the 1993 original all the way up to 2020's Doom Eternal.
So again, he somehow ends up with normal future weapons that are somehow reflections of fantasy weapons that he's used in his past.
Nailed it.
I think.
I like that line of thought, though. In the sort of hell dimension, there are all these weapons that have either been recreated by demons with their understanding, or it's just like alternate universe, warped version of the Doomslayer's weapons.
Your Warhammer is showing, Dave.
Yeah, exactly. I tried not to get too Warhammered about it, but yeah.
I do like that concept of where like modern weapons are really, really powerful compared to a lot of magic stuff. And then you get magic stuff that trying to understand and figure it out sort of makes their own version or equivalent or reverse engineered whatever of the modern weapon. A pretty common example of such things, that not a common example, sorry, a big example that I don't think is as well known as it should be, is a book series called The Salvation War, which really addresses the concept of mythological, in this case, particularly biblical demons facing modern weaponry. And when I say biblical demons, I mean like as described originally, not really revamped or redone. It's like, this is what the old myths said they could do and were and stuff. So that is what we are facing in modern day.
If you enjoy this kind of content, be sure to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss out on next week's episode. If you can't wait that long, you can head to our Patreon. Over there, we have 17 extended editions, including an extended edition of this episode, plus early access to next week's Doom the Dark Ages episode.
This is just glorious metal nonsense, and I'm all for it.
But without further ado, now I'll throw it over to Jonathan.
Ah, the classic. That sound effect. That not very good, but incredibly evocative sound effect. With the weird red muzzle flash. I was never really clear whether this was supposed to be some future pistol.
I always thought it was just a Beretta.
One of these. Because it was, if I remember rightly, it was a toy Beretta 92. That was photo.
My chat is still not working. What the heck? What is happening? What is happening? Why is my chat not working? I just realized that. That's not good. Give me a sec. I gotta try to fix this because if I can't see the chat, it's one thing if chat isn't working for you guys, no offense. It's really not good. However, if I can't see chat. Oh, is this gonna make me redo everything? Give me a moment. Alright, we've got a couple minutes of freaking out while this probably doesn't work. But hopefully it does work. Oh, cool. It did save the sources. Okay, so let's see. So please bear with me while I check to see if this stuff... And it appears to be saving most of my settings. And we just make sure relay is working. Let's see. Just... where's relay? Please don't have gotten rid of relay. Well, relay appears to be on and working. Though I can't find the setting for it. That's probably not good. But as long as relay is working and we have chat again, that is all I need. And I can figure out why I can't find what I'm looking for and what's going on later. So we're going to call that fixed and set. I apologize for interrupting, but I needed to get that working again. I thought it was working and realized it wasn't. So since we do at least have relay and we have chat back, I'm just going to keep going. I can worry about problem solving all this stuff after the stream.
Photographed.
A lot of the guns in the original Doom were just scanned toys. It's crazy.
Oh, okay. Doom 64?
Yeah, they've changed the pistol, but it's still recognisably a real pistol.
Kinda, yeah. Well, no, definitely. I never played Doom 64, and it was only a few years ago that I realised it's a new new levels.
Yeah.
So I
Story for
will
Doom.
play it at some point. I think I have it on PC now.
Yeah, as the BFG edition includes all the old Dooms.
So I'm definitely going to go back and play that. Yeah, it's one of these, isn't it? Desert Eagle. Not the world's best model of a Desert Eagle, but they sort of stuck to their guns with how they did the graphics. So normally the Deagle is of course your hand cannon, it's your upgrade pistol, it's something that might be viable later in the game. Don't think that's the case with Doom 64. But we can tell that's a Deagle. It is a slightly cursed Desert Eagle, that, isn't it? Yeah,
Just a
I'm
tad.
not really convinced about that Doom 64 pistol. I prefer the fake Beretta to the fake Desert Eagle. It does look bigger in his hand, to be fair, so maybe the proportions are about right, but it looks weirdly skinny up front. The muzzle flash is not very impressive, and it isn't very powerful, so not a huge fan of that. Moving on to Doom 3.
Actual
this is
future
where we
gun.
do go sci-fi. This is a little bit Blade Runner-y.
I thought maybe the Doom 3 pistol was like someone's tried to design a pistol, but the only source material they've had is the Doom 1 view of the pistol. It's like you've been given that sprite and now make a sci-fi pistol off the back of that.
Maybe. It wouldn't look a million miles away if it was directly behind, but of course it isn't in this game. This is one we can excuse, I think, for having a slide, sort of a slide, that opens automatically. So it doesn't lock open, but when you change magazines, it comes to the rear. It's semi-plausible that in some sci-fi future, that's how it would work. I don't know why it would, unless it is a sort of, I don't know, electromechanically operated design somehow. And yet the slide portion moves back as it's firing, like it's a conventional firearm. So who knows? I don't think a great deal of thought went into the mechanics of that. But it's something, at least it's a proper sci-fi design for probably the first time in the franchise for the pistol. The pump action, I remember thinking how cool this was. In fact, I would sometimes use this in preference to the super shotgun, just because I love pump action shotguns in games. Then when I found out it was some photos of a toy, it kind of took the shine off a little bit.
Not just a toy, it's called the Tootsie Toy Dakota.
Yeah, I remember really liking the fact that the
I did not
shots
know
would
this.
pass through the grunts and kill guys behind. That may not be massively plausible for a shotgun, but it's possible. Certainly pellets could come out the other side. Maybe, sometimes. Much better sound effect here on Doom 64.
Interesting how it's
But you've
across
lost the
a
cool
line.
pump animation. As flawed as it is with the whole toy situation, it's more like a Quake 1 3D model, but it isn't even a 3D model. It's still a bitmap. The muzzle flash is also taking place above the barrel, not in front of it for some reason. But hey, we've got a nicely detailed
That's a bit of an
cinematic
issue.
sight, so I guess that's okay. And then a major upgrade for Doom 3.
The clipping whenever you're mid-loading and firing is
Very
always
sci-fi
funny to
looking
me.
design, but still pump, of course. We've still got to have the pump.
Yeah, Doom 3 just got like really sort of horror vibes, especially when it first came out and you had to choose
Yeah.
between flashlight and weapon.
Yeah, that's the real reason, or would have been the real reason why I never played Doom 3. The practical reason is that my computer didn't run it and I didn't have a console. But that was a damn good excuse so that I didn't have to terrify myself. Which is funny, because I absolutely loved the first two games, and it was quite the wait for 3 to come out, and I was a bit sad that I couldn't at least. I think I played it on someone else's PC briefly, and someone released a mod for the for the flashlight, or torch as we say in this country. And then this is clearly, well, I say clearly, hang on, is this 2016?
Yeah, this is the Doom 2016 shotgun. It does seem to have a sort of aesthetic lineage between the Doom 3 and the 2016 shotgun. They don't look a million miles apart from each other. Obviously, the
No.
2016 one has its charge, burst, and grenade functionality.
Yeah, that was an interesting development. Like, how do we stick with the basic weapons everyone loves and don't disappoint people, but also add new gameplay? essentially very advanced alt fire, where you can choose what alt fire you have. At the time, I thought, oh, that seems like a bit too much complication, but it worked fine. If you didn't want to use it, you could mostly get away with it. But it turned out to be quite useful. I think I still prefer 16 over Eternal, just for being a bit more simple, less platformy. This is something new, where you're replacing the whole front end of the gun to do something different. I don't think that necessarily jibes with a traditional mechanical pump action. Comes back to my old complaint. Not really complaint. Fun gameplay, rule of cool. But then on the other side of the house, we've got, why on earth would you still have
I am going to point out, though, that for a pump action shotgun, it is possible, and a lot of them are built with a lot of the mechanics forward, such that the stock is basically just a stock. A lot of guns actually run stuff down in the stock for room. A lot of pump action shotguns don't need that. And so the idea of just running on the stock and replacing the front is possible. Though that does feel a bit... I got this in the wrong place. Though that does feel a bit... Okay, why do we have the stock, or why are we replacing anything? Unless there's something else in the stock that you're swapping between weapons.
Fun gameplay, rule of cool, but then on the other side of the house, we've got, why on earth would you still have a manually operated shotgun? Goodness knows that you're going to have reliable semi-automatic shotguns by this period in time. And they've radically changed up the design, of course, more than once. But you've got to have the pump for gameplay reasons and nostalgia reasons. Even though by this point, so we're on Eternal here, aren't we?
Yeah. With the sort of Gatling shotgun.
I remember that I did use that for a while, and the grenade launcher. So it kind of redefines what a pump action shotgun in a game can be, while still retaining the basic action. So on that sort of meta or design level, I think both games have great guns, and probably the Eternal one is the best. But it does lose a bit of that simplicity, you know, that idea. The original inspiration clearly being Aliens, you know, Hicks with his antique heirloom Ithaca 37. That's why that pump action was in Doom. And then decades later, we have this craziness. I did enjoy it.
Give Hicks the auto
ludicrous
shotgun.
As it is, I think I enjoyed the most that rotary Gatling gun shotgun mod.
Yeah, it's very cool. And you know, more barrels, like that's the easiest way to make a weapon like all that more impactful and feel dangerous, right?
Well, not only that, but it means your pump action shotgun, for a brief period, stops being a pump action shotgun and becomes an automatic shotgun. So you leap straight over semi-automatic and go straight to essentially full auto. And then when you burst as you know, when you've stopped, you're back to pump. Gameplay wise, works brilliantly. You would obviously never do that for any practical purpose.
Revisiting these.
I mean, the AA-12 exists. The AA-12 does exist, though it admittedly fell out of favor very, very quickly. So, mixed signals there, but there's the argument that the AA-12 exists when it comes to why would you ever have an automatic shotgun. Actually, I think Spazas also have an automatic mode, don't they? I think so.
Older games has just made me all the more excited to see the guns of Dark Age.
Oh, he meant Pump. Never mind then. Okay. Yeah. I'm not gonna try to defend Pump.
Especially as even from the trailers, they've gone even crazier with them.
I don't know. I feel like I have a limit with how crazy stuff should get, but I don't know where it is.
I'm
yet.
sorry. What?
Even from the trailers, they've gone even crazier with them.
I don't know. I feel like I have a limit with how crazy stuff should get, but I don't know where it is yet in Doom. So I'm hoping they stay.
That's
the
an
right
execution.
side of my personal tolerance for nonsense. Yeah, class.
I love the animations that like rip on this, but don't understand the concept of how firearms work. So there's some games and some animations that play on the Doom shotgun reload but it's not treated as a double barrel shotgun firing both barrels or whatever. It's just treated as a normal shotgun. And so then when you open it, you get multiple loads of the shells into the gun, and then you can fire it multiple times out of what is essentially a double barrel shotgun model. It's like some of them just use that. They haven't even changed it any. And the other ones that do only change it slightly, and it's still very clearly a break action double barrel shotgun that you just loaded like 7 shells into.
Yeah, classic. As featured in your guest episode with us earlier in the year, or this one is anyway. So I went with this one deliberately because it has the buttstock but the cut down barrels, which I think the original in-game model of the Super Shotgun does have. In retrospect, it's kind of weird that it was called the Super Shotgun, because that implies something more like what we see in Eternal, that something that does something other than a normal shotgun. But the actual shotgun in Doom 2 was just one of these. Like, maybe it's a 10 gauge rather than a 12, based on how big and powerful it is, but otherwise, it's farmers' mums, isn't it? At the end of the day.
Which is all the more bizarre when you think about the setting and time period that one of the most powerful weapons from Doom 2 onwards is, at least in this iteration, a standard, you've got one right now, double barrel shotgun.
Yeah. And then you end up with it becoming this mythical, ancient, legendary weapon. So we go from it being essentially antique. Side-by-side shotguns are old hat now, effectively. Certainly would be in the future of the Doom universe. So
Old
this one
hat,
has
but
to be
still
another
extremely
Hit from
popular.
style scenario where this is just what some colonist had or something, to then becoming this mythical, high-tech version of the same idea, and then full circle, it turns out to have been ancient and like his Excalibur almost. It's like ridiculous layers of lore with very little care for making any sense and just like gleefully doing whatever's cool. And I guess that's always been the case with Doom. Starting ever so slightly grounded and then cheerfully running over the horizon, waving its super shotgun in the air. So this is not an ejector gun, so it doesn't shoot the cases out. So preempting it, and preempting, I guess. We do our Doom reload. Kind of, it's a little awkward. Let's try again. It'd be easier with full length cartridges. These are snap caps.
It'd also
just to
probably
save
be
firing
easier
pins.
without the rubber
And
gloves.
To do the Doom reload,
it's a
you've gotta
museum
kind of
piece, so
awkwardly grasp them in your hand and shove them in. I think with enough practice, one of these is broken. I think with enough practice you could probably make a fist of it, literally. But it always felt a bit kind of, they needed the reload speed to be slower, but not so slow that it wasn't fun to use. So they was kind of clink, 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 clack, done. Just holding.
personally, the few times that I've used double barrel shotgun, the rubber gloves specifically, because those do not, the rubber in those move around a lot. Combat gloves don't really shift around your fingers and hand, so the shells will stay in the position in your hand that you grab them on. Now, the few times I have used a double barrel shotgun, or really a regular shotgun even, if I'm doing a multi-shell in my hand reload, personally, I just hold them in between my knuckles. So you break the action, first set, second one, close. It's slightly slower than the two at the same time, but it's also a little bit less of an aiming fight like what he did. I don't think I've ever actually tried any of the double shell reloads, because there's a bunch of double shell reloads, because you don't just have the double barrels, but there's also for the pump and semi-autos that are tube fed. There is also a double shell reload where you hold two, one after another in your fist, and you shove them both in at the same time underneath. I have never tried that either. It's always just been one at a time. We're running from a weapon over 500 years ago. Watch the Doom guy in action. Okay, never mind. Yeah.
And down the fire button, hoping for the best in my case. Now the Doom 64 gun does feel like a bit more of a... I don't know, actually. I was going to say it looks more sci-fi, but the wooden stock goes all the way up to the breech reinforcement. The body. The action.
There's no reload animation, despite hearing it go clunk click either, which is
that sucks.
very weird to see.
I'm gonna time travel back to 1997 and say that's a terrible decision. So why they removed the reload animations, I don't know. I didn't realise that the guns were so different in 64. Maybe some technical limitation, but I doubt it. You know, look at what GoldenEye achieved. Anyway.
Yeah, GoldenEye's the one to make fun of people with.
The first time we get a truly sci-fi design. So this is that middle step where this is somehow side by side 12 gauge in space, looking like a proper sci-fi gun. So with the implication that this was always a combat weapon, not a found agricultural tool. So almost a bit of retconning there. But then Doom 3, I believe, was a reboot anyway. It was intended to be a reboot. I think they've subsequently tried to fit it all into continuity.
It's not ejecting shells.
There really is no continuity in Doom. Very chunky, very
so
different.
Caseless shotgun ammo is a wild concept.
Held in the middle of the screen. And a different reload, because they've got this rib down the middle, so he's having to junk rather than shove them.
It's not ejecting shells, which implies it's caseless, which means that it may actually be firing bolts or a bolt shot type weapon where it has an initial kick for the fire but is caseless and essentially a rocket propelled round.
Somehow it doesn't look right when it's not held in the middle of the screen. And a different reload, because they've got this rib down the middle, so he's having to junk rather than shove them both in at once. This is the first proper look I've had at this, because I didn't play the game for any length of time, and I haven't watched any footage really, so I feel like I missed out with this. So maybe that absolutely horrifying VR playthrough is in my cards. Now, the 2016 one, I think, is a great compromise between something sci-fi, although it turns out to be maybe more fantasy, and...
I have not played Doom 3, so I don't have an opinion.
Obviously, by this point, proper boom. We've lost the buttstock. It's now a sawn-off grip as well. I guess partly because he's now this semi-mythical, huge muscled character that can absolutely shoot a fully sawn-off shotgun without worrying about it. In practical terms, don't try this at home, kids, but buttstock is always preferable for aiming, for recoil control, and I guess for butt stroking, if I can say that on the internet.
Definitely
I just have.
Not safely.
If I have one complaint about the design, because I mean, who cares about how big and heavy it is? My one complaint about this design is the sort of nod to a sight on the top there that isn't one. That serves no mechanical function that I can discern. We're back to, of course, the fist reload. So it's good how they managed to blend innovation with nostalgia really successfully.
Sorry, I gotta deal with
these games. This might be where the first time it's stated that it's actually this ancient mythical, semi-mythical weapon rather than just something you found on a space station. Not really explained why it changes design. I guess the basic silhouette's the same as the previous game, but every detail is different on this.
My headcanon is I think the mythical version of the super shotgun, Lucifer's Bane, has been the Doomslayer's weapon throughout his time, but it's got a form factor that's very familiar to him. So the previous super shotguns he's just really proficient with because he's always used this mythical
I like that
version.
explanation.
But the previous ones were just normal, maybe big bore double barrel shotguns, and now he's finally like, oh, this is like the weapon's mythical granddaddy.
This is old Betsy. Yeah, I think that's the only canon that makes sense, actually. And even then, not a great deal. But yeah, this is his original ancient version, which actually raises the question, what does it look like in Dark Ages? Is it the same model as this? Because I bet it isn't. Yeah, and that big lump that I suspect was kind of, oh, you need something on the top of a gun, because guns have things on top of them. With this one, instead of going, oh, that doesn't make sense, we'll remove that. They've doubled down and put a great big hook on the top of it, and it's even less clear what on earth that does. But hey, if it's this mythical, legendary Excalibur to King Arthur kind of relationship, then it can look like whatever he likes, can't it?
And when you
There is an argument for the hook on top. There is an actual argument for the hook on top. It is not, generally speaking, practical, but it is something that it could be, where instead of the normal type of holster, like you see, where it is, like this, I have seen a few, and this would be a gun where it would make, this would be one of the rare situations where it would be possible that it could be, you're drawing it from this position off of the belt. I don't know why it keeps reversing my hand. So that, like the grip is sticking out to the side. And so it's that hook either goes on the belt directly or has a rail catch that it slides into. Under normal circumstances, this is impractical because your gun's sticking out. But the Doom shotgun is basically a square. That shotgun is basically a square. So it's like it sticks out mostly the same amount no matter what direction you're facing. Plus, it's Doom Guy, who really doesn't care about the convenience of having everything tight to him because he's already just a moving wall. So that thing on the top could go into basically a holster rail. Actually, with those blades, it might actually be wider than it is tall. With these, it might actually be wider than it is tall, giving you even more of a reason. What's the grip look like on this again? Do we get a view of it without the...
If I have one complaint about the design, because I mean, who cares about how big and heavy it is? That isn't one. That serves no mechanical function that I can discern. We're back to, of course, the fist reload. So it's good how they managed to blend innovation with.
I gotta check this out now. Was there a place we saw when he's getting? Yeah. This gun may actually be wider than it is tall. Which would mean using that as a holster rail would actually be relatively reasonable. And it's not that hard of a grip change to reach down and pull it off. Now, admittedly, I am really overthinking this. But I can't help but be curious, because that looks like it's just a big clip. Doesn't it? Like belt clip, not wrong word for magazine clip. Also good for putting on his back. Yeah, that may be the gun's storage option of all things. Yeah, that's definitely wider than it is tall, even at its tallest.
But yeah, this is his original ancient version, which actually raises the question: what does it look like in Dark Ages? Is it the same model as this? Because I bet it isn't. Yeah, and that big lump that I suspect was kind of, oh, you need something on the top of a gun because guns have things on top of them. With this one, they've instead of going, oh, that doesn't make sense, we'll remove that. They've doubled down and put a great big hook on the top of it, and it's even less clear what on earth that does. But hey, if it's this mythical,
we now have an answer.
Legendary Excalibur to King Arthur kind of relationship, then it can look like whatever he likes, can't it?
And when you first get it in Eternal, it's like being guarded by a revenant, and as soon as there's a risk of the weapon getting back into the Slayer's hands, a bunch of enemies come and try and prevent that.
In fact, for when I heard about the Dark Ages concept,
okay,
I
we're
thought,
seeing it again.
They're going to have that melted down and turned into that battle axe that we see him with, but they're both in the game, I gather.
Are you a fan of Doom? Well, if you head over to our Patreon, you can watch not only the extended edition of this episode, but also our Doom The Dark Ages episode. Because obviously we needed to share the gun that shoots shards of skulls with Jonathan. That was quite hard to say. In fact, we've now got a selection of over 17 extended director's cut episodes, and every single one is available to extended edition patrons. Links to our Patreon can be found in the description below, and each patron helps keep this project and this channel alive. It lets us do more cool stuff and bring you guys more cool content. But whether you watch along on YouTube or follow us on our Patreon, thank you for all of your support, for liking the video, subscribing, commenting, all of that good stuff. And now, I'll get back to the video.
The old school plasma rifle is so interesting, so different from the other weapons in the game, with that delay of the projectiles or energy blasts, whatever they are. Really something you would keep in your back pocket.
I need to check something related to this plasma gun specifically. Though I might not be able to, given we are talking about something very obscure. Very obscure. There's a game called Rebel Moon Rising, which is a Doom-like. It's very much a Doom clone, but it has a weapon that I think uses that square. Helps keep us employed since we left the sticky shift this game. So, oof. Oof. Unfortunately, they made that terrible show called, or movie or whatever it was called, Rebel Moon, which makes it significantly harder to find stuff for this game now. But I want to see if I'm misremembering the game sort of swiping that model. If I can. I don't think I'll be able to. Oh, nope, that's just Doom. That's just Doom. I cannot find it. However, having said that, since I brought it up and we're looking at Doom stuff, I'm not playing Doom. At least not the new Doom. I might pull out Rebel Moon Rising. If we're doing Doom stuff, I might pull out Rebel Moon Rising, because like I said, that's just a Doom clone.
Or energy blasts, whatever they are. Really something you would keep in your back pocket, as it were, for when you needed something more powerful. Which is a shame, because it does it has the chance to actually mulch basic enemies if you shoot them.
What's interesting is the design of the plasma rifles. So the original Doom plasma rifle influenced the Doom Eternal design. The Doom 3 plasma rifle influenced the Doom 2016 design. And you can see those design parallels. And it's almost like, oh, they're two different types of plasma weapons that have...
Grab bag is the title, so you're free to grab any game you want. I need to dig up my ancient disc. I need to do a lot of work to make sure it will actually play. And then I need to set it all up. It is not currently installed on anything I own. It's just sitting on a CD somewhere.
that coexist in the world of Doom.
Yeah, I didn't actually because having not played Doom 3, I didn't grasp that connection. I just remember thinking, oh, it's a shame they've moved away from the classic plasma rifle design. But actually, I do quite like that. When you think of when this came out, you don't want the Dustbuster design. I forget what the reference was for the original plasma rifle. It was another toy, I think. So they've thrown that out the window for Doom 3, but you still have the blue plasma bolts.
Funnily enough, the original reference to the original Doom plasma gun is apparently a Rambo toy M60.
Oh, God.
Really?
No, I didn't remember that. Radically different from an actual M60.
Wow.
Needless to say. The back half must look more like an M60, I guess. The back half you don't see.
Yeah, you take it's like the barrel and the trigger have that sort of square,
Ah.
blocky, ribbed that they've obviously photo mapped to make it into the plasma gun.
That's funny. So the Rambo toy was probably made less realistic to not annoy parents, I guess. And then Doom has turned it into a real gun that mulches demons and possessed humans, I guess. Yeah, so this is the riff on Doom 3. Yeah, definite lines, but it is quite different. It's kind of like its own thing, but like even that silly hoop front sight thing is on there. The general silhouette is there.
And the ammo counter from 3 is now the temperature gauge in 2016.
And it does have that venting of blue plasma out of the front as well that 3 had. Which actually is consistent. So Eternal, despite the gameplay being... And maybe that was a deliberate choice. Like the gameplay moves further away from the original, but the art direction references back to the first 2 games.
Hey, who are you?
This is one of my favorite scenes.
Here.
You can't
Like,
be
it's just
here.
like,
Give me your gun.
Give me that.
Yeah, I did enjoy that opening. And that really does look like, okay, so we've got a digitized photo of a silly child's toy gun. What do we do with that to make people go, oh, it's like the old one, but it's actually been completely redesigned. And even the sound effect sounds like an upgraded version of the original. Really good sound.
I love Doom Eternal. So good.
And we have to mention the music, of course. I know it's not my area, but both of those games, astonishingly good music.
Oh, yeah.
It's the music that played in your head when you played the original.
That's exactly it.
Lots of scope for fun alt-fire modes with the energy weapons, of course. Well, don't think they let them hold. They don't let it hold them back for the bullet-firing weapons either. But I'm a sucker for an energy beam. Probably as an old-school Star Trek fan. I like me something that operates a bit like a phaser. Although that was a bit different. I think I've said this before, but the central position makes sense for most of the guns in the original games, especially the shotgun, because you're actually something like that. If you have no stock, which this one does, but anyway, you really do want to hold it in the middle of your body to control the recoil. But a rocket launcher, rocket launchers go over your shoulder. Like, where is the back of this tube?
Yeah, because the sprite.
I would also point out that in the old original version of Doom, before we really got the current version, well, even with the current version, because he's now physically bulky instead of just wearing a bulky spacesuit, there's a lot of talks and theories with bulky spacesuits and the theories around combat in space. The idea of designing weapons to be fired centrally against the chest piece because of the difficulty in maneuvering your arms and head into the firing position, as well as a means of providing a very even form of recoil, especially in low and zero gravity, because in zero gravity in particular, if you fire from the shoulder, you're going to go into a spin. If you fire directly aligned with you, it's going to push you backwards. But then all you need is a rear thruster to counter the effect of you firing, and it will keep you in place. And theoretically, your spacesuit is a hard suit instead of a soft suit, so you don't crush yourself. Like they do in the movie Moonraker. Yes, exactly. It's a two-handed weapon, for most people, true. But yeah, not universally.
Sprite in the original Doom has what looks like a pump grip and a pistol grip, so it's like a rocket launching rifle.
Which would be a bad idea, because you need somewhere for the recoil energy generated by the thrust of the rocket. There's a reason why most rocket launchers, well, all handheld rocket launchers have some means of getting the warhead out of the tube before the rocket motor kicks in. Because you get a huge build-up of the recoil forces and it will knock you on your butt. It's not fatal, but it ain't comfortable.
Concussive blasts.
And of course they get more complex. We have this magazine. Now here it's kind of implied, still implied that he's, well not implied, it's shown that he's holding it sort of under the arm, off to one side now. And it's got some sci-fi recoil mitigation. Don't worry about it. I think in reality, a magazine system for something like this would be too unwieldy and heavy for practical use. These are
It's Doom Guy.
crew-served weapons, unless you're looking at something like a Law 66, which is for an individual soldier to carry and use, obviously. This kind of shoulder-fired thing is meant to be crew-served, but it's also meant to be fired over the shoulder. But, you know, as an update to the classic rocket launcher, this was an obvious way to go. With the inevitable splash damage hazard of shooting a rocket launcher in a corridor.
Also, again, if these weapons are designed to be fired by people in power armor, we know Doom Guy is just that strong, but the person who designed the weapons probably designed them to be fired by people using power armor. So that's, again, for positioning, it's, again, probably more reasonable to have something, if it's being held, under the arm than over the shoulder. Now, if something's just mounted to the shoulder, that's another story, but a lot of hard suits are going to struggle with the positioning of being able to effectively fire from the typical shoulder-fired, over-the-shoulder-fired position. So, that. He is the weapons guy. I am the science nerd. So, and I may actually have designed a combat-capable spacesuit at one point in my career. So, I get that when you're talking conventionally, he's the guy. I'm just saying from the space warfare side, power armor, pick up, fire under the shoulder is not the worst design in the world.
So we've moved away from the sort of Bofors gun magazine on the side to... I'm not sure, actually. Do we know where the magazine is supposed to be on this? Underneath?
I mean, that's the thing with the 2016 Eternal weapons, because they don't reload.
Yeah.
There's rockets somewhere. Somewhere on your person there's rockets, and you get to fire them.
It's best not to inquire where those are stored.
I get the feeling they're sort of moved in from somewhere behind it. I don't know. The functionality reminds me of like a tank's autoloader.
Yes, I think that if it has an inspiration, that's what it will be. With a spinny bit in the middle for some reason. And then we're in a retro Doom 2 level here, which is messing with my mind slightly. Yeah, I mean, not much to say about this, to be honest. I think it does the job.
The one alt fire that I never personally understood the use case for it is detonating your rockets midair.
Oh, okay. No,
Oh.
I didn't use that.
You just get to shoot them in the air, and I feel like through
Oh,
a lot
there's
of games,
absolutely a purpose
I've
for
been
that.
trained to just shoot the feet near the enemy rather than try and like aerial splash damage them. And I think most people just use the lock-on burst function if they were going to use any alt fire from the 2016 rocket launcher.
That I use, but I think I'm more apt to shoot it into a wall or a floor, like you say, or a ceiling for that matter.
Yeah, or if you need to make an accurate shot, the other mode has tracking.
Let us know in the comments what the use for that would be.
The use for that. Now, yeah, because now, admittedly, from a military doctrine point of view, the use for some of what he talked about does lose a lot of its possibility with things like the lock-on. But generally speaking, airburst is to hit targets in an area that you cannot directly impact. Now, admittedly, if something's behind cover, I don't know the mechanic here, so I don't know if the way that's set changes it. But if something's in cover and the lock-on can't lock onto it, you're going to fire over their head or to the side around the cover and then burst to hit them. And that is one of the primary uses for that kind of airburst capability. There are weapons that do that in real life, though most of them are grenade launchers. There's some rocket launchers, but the most famous ones, or I guess the most generally used ones, are airburst grenades. From like the chain-fed grenade launchers. Some of them can be set to do that. Well, no, I guess there's a decent number of missiles that do that, that intentionally do that. Which also gets us to the second purpose, which is really, really applicable in particular with with the current ongoing conflicts, which is against swarms in real life. We're talking like drones, where you're not trying to lock on to a single target and take it out. You're trying to get it into the middle of the swarm and take out a large chunk of everything around there all at the same time. So if you're being attacked by a swarm, instead of locking onto a single target in the swarm that may or may not take off when it realizes it's locked on, again, we're mostly using drones as an example, because drones can be made to do that. You're just going to say, we're lobbing this into the center of everything and using the shrapnel and concussion to knock out as much as possible. You'll get to drop that and not explain, but I can and I will. Where are my thumbs ups?
I remember us looking at this with the skulls and the chains. Very metal. An excess of metal, I would say.
Done away with a lot of any real-world firearm parallels with the Eternal rocket launcher.
Yeah, is there in-game lore for this thing? I don't remember if I ever looked this up. Like, why does it look so... Like, the super shotgun I can kind of get behind as it's this ancient thing. Is that true for the whole suite of weapons? Are we going to see fantasy versions of all of them?
There is a lot of that with Eternal, because it's technically, while we know it as the rocket launcher, in game or in universe it's just called the Pain Giver. So I think it's shooting balls of pain rather than rockets.
Okay.
Okay. So again, he somehow ends up in the future with normal future weapons that are somehow reflections of fantasy weapons that he's used in his past, but his past is also his future.
Nailed it.
I think.
I mean, I like that line of thought, though, that in the sort of hell dimension there are all these weapons that have either been recreated by demons with their understanding, or it's just like alternate universe warped version of the Doomslayer's weapons, and this
Your
is what you end
Warhammer
up
is
using.
showing, Dave.
Yeah, exactly. I tried not to get too Warhammer nerd about it, but yeah.
Yeah, again, I'm not complaining. We've had so many weapons of all these kinds over the years. I think it's hard to do a rocket launcher that is fun and interesting if you don't break free of, convention. And boy, did they do that.
There we go, the BFG.
Now this was also based on some weird toy, if I remember rightly.
It's a raw gun, which is a toy sci-fi gun. It's like the back of it is shown and then it's mirrored, so it's like two guns
That's right.
spliced together.
Huh.
But yeah, it's two of those plastic. Do you remember the plastic guns that every time you pull the trigger a different sound would play?
Yeah.
It's one of those scanned and mirrored.
But at the time, that thing was pretty astonishing. You had to work hard to get it, and then something that would just clear an entire room with one shot. I don't remember playing anything like it. Admittedly, first-person shooters were pretty much still in their infancy there. Once you've got that in a game, you absolutely have to... That and the super shotgun, I think, are probably the only two things you have to absolutely have in a Doom game, or it isn't a Doom game. The BFG, and we all know what that stands for, don't we?
Big Friendly Giant.
That's right.
Just like the BFR.
Oh, that's good. To come back with 2016 and do something that was recognisably the BFG in terms of how much space it takes up on the screen and how it evokes the original, but actually looks completely different. And the sound effect and just a modern version of the effect that we... Again, it's the version of the BFG that you imagined rather than what was on screen in 93.
All personnel receiving the obvious elevator. Do not threat at level 5.
And the lightning bolts connecting the splash damage is really cool. Shades of the Quake lightning gun and all sorts of other things. But it was a little weird with the original game how they just kind of got green flashes and died without anything connecting them. That was almost certainly a graphical limitation. They probably always wanted some beam connecting the central blast. But I think this is, like a lot of the weapons in the last two games, this feels like this is the gun you had in the original game. It's just you remember it differently. You've always got to have bits that spin and bits that pop out. Some visual interest to make up for the lack of moving parts. Or cool reload like we get with the super shotgun.
The entrance to the BFG 10,000 is just across from this facility.
I love in Eternal they turn the BFG 9000 into a massive planetary defense laser.
So is that now some mythical ancient weapon as well? I remember this scene. The impatient tapping.
Fun with acronyms indeed.
How can we top the most powerful weapon in the game?
And then the Doomslayer just goes, nah, this is mine actually.
Yeah. The actual design is very close to the 2016 version, but they've, in common with the other weapons and other aspects of this game, they've added in a little bit of a hint of the original games with the lighter coloured casing. So it's a bit more reminiscent of the original BFG.
I love that in both 2016 and Eternal as well, as soon as you get the BFG 9000, you're just presented with a room full of enemies.
Of course.
Just like, right, we've given you this gun, now see what it can do.
You've got to test it out.
Any final thoughts? Obviously we didn't see everything, but I think we saw a good spread of some of the weapons from across the franchise.
Good to see them in that sort of evolutionary way and compare them. Looking forward to Dark Ages with a bit of trepidation, because mixing sci-fi and fantasy, you know,
Can be good.
could go either way, but
Yeah.
I'm confident that it's going to be good fun.
The Slayer has control.
Thank you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed this exploration of the Doom franchise and its weaponry. If you did, make sure to like the video, comment your thoughts down below, and of course, subscribe. As always, a huge shout out to all of our supporters over on the EXP Patreon for helping make these episodes and this project a reality. Links to support the Royal Armories will be in the description below, as will links to all of EXP's social pages. But until I see you again in next week's episode, thank you again for watching, and we'll see you real soon.
All right. As a reward to people who stuck it out to the end, both on stream and in the video when I upload this, I will give a brief explanation of what I'm talking about with the spacesuit. It is not something that is currently accepted. It is not something that went anywhere. And in fact, it's still attributed to me, so anyone who thinks that, oh, well, we could just pull this out now that he no longer works there, it's not in a filing cabinet. I have worked for the Air Force, I have worked for NASA, I have worked for a bunch of different tech and security places, and I tried to enter a proposal at a time when they were asking for new spacesuits. The base spacesuit was designed to just be a standard issue spacesuit. However, I intentionally designed mine to be easily convertible into a combat-capable suit for multiple purposes. Like I said, it did not go anywhere, but I still have some of it somewhere. So if anyone from Space Force decides to reach out, I am willing to talk. The short version is that the short non-giving away its secrets version is that I decided to change up the typical doctrine for how spacesuits are made. It's based on current currently available concepts that have simply not been put to use in actual spacesuits, and I understand why. The current doctrine for spacesuits is basically to build a person-shaped tiny spaceship, completely fill it with air, and have you float around. The idea is, in the event of an incident, you have more air available in the suit for at least a very short grace period between a failure and, well, asphyxiation. My design averts that. However, it is a design that also is intended to sacrifice that particular protection while building in secondary alternative protections in exchange for a suit that averts the need to go through pressurization and decompressing processes going in and out of the ship into the suit, because suits often operate at a different pressure than a space station or spacecraft. It is designed to be more maneuverable, though it's still a spacesuit. It's not super maneuverable. And it is still designed to be well, no, it's not still. It is actually designed to be a zero power failure, safe suit. A lot of suits, if they completely run out of power and have some other problem, that can be it for your pressurization. These are my suit design is that if the power fails completely on the suit itself, you will maintain your pressurization. And the only thing you need to worry about is the helmet, which is in many ways a completely separate and self-contained thing, since that is the only thing that is operating with air. From just at your shoulders up is the only air-containing area. Now that, like I said, that does mean you have that much little grace period, but the helmet has multiple built-in, well, not multiple, well, yeah, it had, I believe, 2 different separate valves so that they weren't right next to each other, which extra air could be attached from the front instead of just the rear backpack connector. The intent was to provide a smaller, sleeker spacesuit that can be maintained and customized because it has external universal modularity, which also means that it can be easily upgraded. It's almost universally upgradable, actually. Because if the interior suit needs to be replaced, well, then you could take the electronics off the old and put them on the new. Again, I'm keeping this generally vague and not talking about a lot of details, because how it achieves a lot of this, I'd like Space Force to come knocking on my door and be like, "We heard you have a combat-capable spacesuit. Tell us more." But generally speaking, the execution is, in terms of visually, could in many ways be compared to an unarmored version of a Spartan suit. Actually, it's not as advanced, it's not as sleek, but it is that kind of like all-body suit with components attached to the outside, with a protective exterior. Then is the short, non-detailed and technical version, with a helmet with, instead of the current doctrine with helmets is the bubble around the head, and my doctrine is the actual helmet on the head. So instead of looking around inside your bubble, the helmet moves with you. And that is my little nerding out about the spacesuit explanation. Like I said, I did put this forward. My boss at the time had no interest in providing that connection, and because of where I worked, I could only go through my boss to do it. So it just kind of got pushed away, sadly. But yeah, that's that particular nerd out there at the end. Like, assuming Up To hasn't already left in a huff that I didn't explain it. Doom franchise guns. Yada yada yada. Okay, up to us here. Good. All right, I am going to post the link to the different chats, and then we will move on. Actually, I think we may end up taking a short break early. And that settles it. You need to play every Doom game now on stream. I am not paying $70 for the current Doom game. I'm going to take a short break on stream. Well, it's not actually that early because of how long this went. Okay, it appears as though that timing of that did not work, so let me send it again. There we go. Classic, yeah, the classic's fine. It's just it'll take time to get through them all. All right, we will see. I will be back shortly, and we will continue on with some indie games. Hello, sorry, I am back. The headache is kind of trying to get the better of me. Taking something for it. Oh. Well, I think I solved the charging problem. Nice. Well, that was a quick nuke. Feeling the NSA is trying a subsonic doom cannon on your location for leaking the spacesuit that is absolutely not being funded now. Who knows? Alright, I think I'm set. Okay. Now, on to the next game. Our first next indie game is Void Sails, which initially looks like a cute sailing through the skies game, but it seems to have an Eldritch Horror eye in the title, in how it's written. So this could get interesting. And we're going to continue to sort of go the let's try them and see what we think right now. It was Shift Windows Arrow, wasn't it? All right. Oh, but you at least have a windowed version that we can just drag over. Okay, that works. So yeah, we're gonna probably look at this for an hour-ish again, and then decide if it's a keeper or not. It certainly looks very interesting. Well, I have never started this before, so onwards. Greetings, you might not know me yet, but I have urgent news. Your father, Leonardo Salvatore, the renowned explorer and scholar, has vanished in his latest expedition. Professional hazard, so to speak. However, this case is of particular interest to me. Seek me in the capital. The ship will be awaiting you at the docks. Until then, the man in yellow. This is absolutely a Lovecraftian game. This is 100% It's not marketed as Lovecraft. And the initial, I only did a very shallow look at this. I just said it's going to be interesting. I'm going to take advantage of the potential return if necessary option. This is 100% Lovecraft. The Man in Yellow. Who do you think that is? You stare at the letter again. Leonardo, your father, gone. The letter came unexpectedly. Not much time to prepare. You look at your room, reminiscing about your past. Apprenticeship. Drastically increased knowledge, drastically increased resolve. Yeah, we're gonna go with apprenticeship. The apprenticeship years have made you stronger. You have tried different professions, searching for the one that best suits you. Resolve, plus 30. You have changed a decent amount of masters, however, one in particular stuck your mind. An artisan, sharpen your perception, or an alchemist. Greatly expand your knowledge. Well, we gave up knowledge last time, but perception is generally the stat of all stats. Perception. I don't like not seeing things. We're lucky to have met someone as skillful as him. His ability to manipulate the chisel, precision with the handsaw, measured movements of the carving knives. However, over time his skill started to deteriorate. Again and again he would carve the same patterns. At times the sleeves of his otherwise white shirt were tainted with blood. Absolutely secret Lovecraft. 100%. You double check your luggage. A few sets of clothes, some of your savings. There was little time to prepare, but you took one particular item. Old book, which will do knowledge, enchanted gloves, improve one's resolve. Alright, we're finally going to take the book. It's Lovecraft. Often seeing or knowing too much can often be a problem. Your old book, which served you well over the years. No more time to waste. As the dawn breaks, the sky clears, you close the door and head for the dock, searching for the ship. As you make your way, a young man with bright red hair suddenly approaches you. Interesting. I can't close that. Sean O'Brien. Ah, Captain, found you. Morning. Name is Sean. Sean O'Brien. I will be your first mate. Ready to take command and set sail? He gives you a wide smile, displaying a set of straight teeth. Sean looks pleased to meet you and is eager to set sail. Surprised you thought he would be commanding the ship. Confidence. Of course you are ready. Confidence. That's the spirit. As usual, the man in yellow knows whom to have aboard. And just take a look at the ship he got us. Points to the ship behind him, peacefully rocking the pier. Its engines humming, ready to take off at a moment's notice. Test of knowledge, 30%. Try to figure out how the ship works. Test of resolve, 60%. Enough talk, onwards. Alright, well, let's take the higher chances. Test of resolve, vigor, 60. Select an artifact to use. Do not have any artifacts which might help the situation. To perform a test, you need to roll a number. That number is compared to the value of your attribute shown in the middle of the dial. If the number rolled is equal to or less, you have succeeded. The higher your attributes, the greater your chance to succeed. To perform a test, you need, same thing. Okay, confirm. So we have succeeded. You hop over the ship's rails and land on the deck. The act was not particularly smooth, but your sheer enthusiasm, although unexpected, puts a smile on Sean's face. It seems both of you are eager to depart and venture forward as soon as possible. Resolve +4. The journey begins! Take command of your ship. Sean diverts his attention to the crew's preparations. As the ship soars high above the clouds, you leave the port behind. Several days later, you arrive at Cloudshire, a lush agricultural region. Your first stop on your way before reaching the capital. You must acquire a travel permit from the nearby castle. It will allow you to navigate safely through the new world. So about that fear fights. WS to switch
Oh,
engine
right,
mode,
Captain.
hold A or D to
It's
turn.
time for you to take the helm. Oh, I see you've already managed to make the ship move. Perfect start, eh? Just remember, it's a starfaring ship, not some flimsy tiny boat. Let's try something different. See those floating crates around the islands? Aim our cannons and show 'em what you got.
Yeah, I was gonna say Treasure Planet really called. I'm assuming. Right mouse button, aim mode, aim sideways. Okay.
Aye, good. See, it was easy. There's more to command in the ship, and I'll show you when the time comes. For now, let's just keep the course. If you find something of interest you'd like to explore, feel free to do so. Just sit next to a pier and disembark. The boys and I'll stay on the ship conducting repairs.
All right. Very Treasure Planet / Pirates of the Caribbean Online. I approve. I missed what he said. I think we're going there. Ooh! Okay, and so that's our forward cannon. That's neat. Abandoned church. Stand outside a church, its doors wide open. The church bell rings solemnly under the mild wind. The place doesn't look particularly old. Although abandoned, it must have been built in the last few decades. Perhaps something of interest can still be inside? Inside, though, it looks much more damaged. A strange overgrowth covers the walls with thick, dark roots, creating a mosaic pattern. They seem to cover most of the church, except a golden mask placed in an otherwise barren altar. The stone around it is slightly charred. The mask's empty sockets. Watch closely as you make your next move. The problem is that 30%. Otherwise, I would want to do this. Sacrilege. Steal a sacred... lose 2 perception. You grab the mask and pull. It is set firmly in the stone, but eventually it starts to give way. When finally removed, it suddenly emits a sharp and painful light. The flash blinds you and almost makes you drop the mask, but you manage to hold on. When the light ceases, the mask stays firmly in your hands. Oops.
Time to use some of that sweet solar energy our ship's sails accumulate. Send the engine core into overdrive. It'll make the ship both faster and more responsive to your commands.
I'm crying out when someone gets possessed by the man. I thought I was gonna get possessed immediately.
Warm sun, fields. Too bad we can't stay here for too long. Which reminds me, we must get a travel permit to continue past this point. There's the castle of St. Isidore in this region. If you ask nicely, I'm sure they can issue us the permit.
A stolen ring. You dock your ship and head towards the village square. As you continue deeper, you spot the town hall. Even from the outside, you hear agitated shouts. You push open the heavy door of the town hall. Inside is a massive crowd of people. Looks like the whole village is gathered here. In the middle is a stage where a big burly man can be seen. His face is red with anger and his wheat-colored hair is drenched in sweat. He shouts at an elderly woman, somewhat shielded by a young boy in front of her. Ask around first. Approach the stage. Ask around first. Despite initial suspicions of a stranger, you convince the bystanders to share some details. The big and angry man is Mr. Miller. He seems convinced that Frau Brower and her boy stole Miller's family relic as retribution for increasing grain prices. You approach the stage to get a better look. You get closer, trying to get a better look, when suddenly a man spots you in the crowd and directs his violent gaze. And who might you be? What do you want? His name is Said. Introduce yourself. Captain, you say. From Earth, you say. Don't make me laugh. We haven't had newcomers since the last sowing season. You're with them, aren't you? Involved in this crime somehow. He points towards the elderly woman and the young boy. Ask who his people are. Ask what the crime he means. That's what crime he means. What crime, he asks? The most despicable one. The Honorable Frau Brower and her bastard of a son Rudolph have stolen my golden ring, the one blessed by Lord Inquisitor himself. That is the last straw, I tell you. Just wait until I get the proof. There will no longer be any Browers here. You can see several strong men standing by the entrance door, all with wheat-colored hair and an angry look. Seeing you have nothing of value right now, Mr. Miller turns to the Browers. The atmosphere is tense, and the men at the door seem impatient. Perhaps if you find that ring, you may resolve the situation. The mountain cave nearby might be a good place to start. Right, so they're guarding the entrance, but still just gonna let us take off and leave. Good. Reflective tower decreases solar cannon charge cost by 25%. Placement of traditional lubricants minimizes energy loss across the solar cannon's mechanical opponents. Increases broadside cannon's damage by 60%. Standard shot laces volatile compounds. Dramatically increases destructive power. Additional battery units increase the ship's total energy capacity for extended operation. The whiplash of the Honorable Frau, followed immediately by a thief, is a bit much. A tad. Shielding probably is a good start for better total energy until we find out what more we need.
Easy, easy there, Captain. Careful around the corners.
Darkness accumulates less energy.
Sorry.
Energy is consumed when
Seems
boosting.
we
Use a
can
shield to
make
charge
much
your solar
less
cannon.
So spend it wisely.
Very, Treasure Planet solar sails. Stand aside what seems to be an abandoned mine. The cave walls look unstable, barely supported by wooden beams. Turned over marmot carts and leftover equipment rotting in the dim lights. I guess we're gonna stick with the highest chances first. That's a fail. Nothing particular catches attention. Judging by its look, the mine has not been visited in a long time. Except you can see a set of footprints leading to a drilling machine. Base of central drill, you see a narrow hole. Must have been dug out recently. The ground looks fresh compared to the rest of the cave. Just shove your hand in. Put your hand in. The hole is narrow and not particularly deep. You move your hand around, but whatever was there is no longer. You stand up and shake dust off. Trail of footprints leads to one of the cave passages before disappearing. Am I expected to shoot these? I don't think so.
Something is off. Boys, get the cannons ready. Remember to use the shields to protect the ship.
Q for shield. See what a closer range broadside will do instead. I've been hitting Q, but it doesn't seem to be doing me a lot of good. Probably because I'm in the dark. We're probably going to get sunk immediately. Yep, there we go. Alright, let's try that again, but better.
Something is off. Boys, get the cannons ready. Remember to use the shields to protect the ship.
I tried. Let's see what happens if I hit them with the solar cannon instead of the barrels. Okay, the solar cannon is way better.
Good job, lads. Don't forget to check the area. I've seen supply crates floating nearby.
Okay, yeah, the solar cannon is way better as a first strike option. Yeah, that degree of shot drop is also going to be something to learn, but definitely just start with the solar cannon. At last, as the cannons grow silent and the dust settles, you can see the fort clearly. Several towers, walls patched up with thick planks of wood. A group of small rowing boats can be seen escaping in the narrow tunnels behind the fort. Strange vegetation covers multiple sections of the fort. Dark, twisted roots stretch across the walls. You dock your ship and head through the massive wooden doors. The inner courtyard is in complete disarray. Massive plants congregate in the dark corners, and multiple empty crates and barrels are scattered around. Most people must have left before your arrival, except for the small garrison encountered during the fight. Something must have forced them away. Search the crates, examine the plants. What I'm seeing is that I really should have picked knowledge as my primary stat, instead of trying to go for an all-rounder. Search the crates but don't find anything particularly useful. Some of the crates differ from the rest. Their insides are covered with thin layer of glitter. It seems the fort inhabitants use them to store solar dust, perhaps extracted from the crystals populating the cave. As you prepare to leave, something catches your attention. A small clearing between the plants. In it lies a golden ring with a delicate carving of a sun. You wonder why it could have been left behind. Take the ring. Inside The inside of the ring has faint inscription. The words "Lus Confidimus" were subtly carved in gold. Lock the ring and head back to the ship. Visit the Academy to learn the artifact's power. Judging by its appearance, the ring must have belonged to the Lord Inquisitor.
See those cracked rocks? Aye, we can clear the path using our cannons.
I was gonna do a second game tonight after we do the hour or so of this one. I don't think we're gonna make it to that. Because even with the medicine, my headache is still really bearing down on me.
Who do you think they were? The people in the fort, I mean. Plenty of pirates around, but the Empire usually manages to keep them at bay. I hope it was someone exciting, like a secret society plotting a revolt against the Inquisition, eh? Or a bunch of cultists, eh? Wanting leftover solar dust to perform an evil ritual.
Cultists of Lovecraft. Yeah, we are. This game is a stealth Lovecraftian game. Definitely cultists. Dock your ship into town hall once more. Inside, events are unfolding as previously. Approach Mr. Miller. We need the travel warrant. Take the ring out and hand it over to Mr. Miller. He snatches it from her fingers and quickly pushes it in his pocket. News of an abandoned fort surprises everyone. A group of people is seen leaving the town hall to investigate. Abandoned fort, you say? Well, this is unusual to say the least. And how did it get there? What is this delinquent? Was it this delinquent who hid it? Points to Rudolph. Didn't find any proof of his involvement. Miller doesn't seem pleased with your response. Well, at least you've got my ring back. You have a journey ahead of you. As a form of gratitude, let me give you something. My men will load some supplies onto your ship. He turns over to the browse. As for you, we will see. Aha! Thought you could sneak away from me, did you?
Cap, when we get to the castle, they will ask questions. Who are you? Where are you going? By the holy light, you submit the I-94 form. All that bureaucratic nonsense. As annoying as it is, we better not start off on the wrong foot. Someone tells me the man in yellow won't appreciate it if we stir up unnecessary trouble. By the way, how did you get to know him? I've worked with the man several times, but I doubt he would hire a ship to help me out.
I don't think I know the man in yellow. Replica of the Mask of the Holy Prophet, believed to be able to ward off evil. Allows to reroll tests of resolve. Right. Let's go get those crates before we head over there, because that's presumably where we're going. That was awful. Note to self. Solar Cannon's still the best gun in the game. You approach the castle gates, but there don't seem to be any guards, neither next to the gates nor atop the walls. Next to the entrance is a small door with a customs office sign. As you enter, you're greeted by a small room filled with measurement and weighting equipment and several tables and chairs, all empty except one. Behind it is a young woman in the Imperial officer robe. Greetings, welcome to the castle of Saint Isidore. My name is Lucia de la Torre, and I am the Lieutenant Castellan. How may I be of assistance? She gives you a polite smile, awaiting a response. Why is the castle empty? Feels strange, doesn't it? On a typical day, hundreds of people would be manning the posts and operating defense towers, but today is not a typical day. Today is the pilgrimage to the Shrine of Saint Isidore, the patron of this castle and the surrounding islands. Act concerned. Leans forward a bit and continues in a hushed voice. That's what I told the Lord Inquisitor, but he insisted that this time was special and that the ceremony would require more people and preparations. Shouldn't be a problem. As Lieutenant Costello, I'm sure I could help you with whatever you might require. However, it's true that if it's a travel permit you seek, there is an issue. Unfortunately, unauthorized travel within the New World is strictly prohibited, based on the truce terms between the Empire and the Old Kingdoms. I would need you to provide a letter of sponsorship from any notable person or patron of the capital. Perhaps a letter from Man in Yellow will suffice, perhaps their apprenticeship papers. Man in Yellow. She takes a glance at your papers and frowns. Man in Yellow, huh? That person may not sound like a reputable source. Give me a minute, I will need to consult the ledger. She takes your papers and exits the room through the back entrance. A couple minutes pass. You start to wonder how massive this ledger must be that takes so much time while suddenly a loud bell is heard across the castle. Something's happening outside. You rush back to your ship.
Steady, lads. Prepare to engage. Remember the drill. Turn. Fire. Repeat. Aim for the sails and the engine pipes. If I see any men cowering, I will throw you overboard myself.
Hi, got them to shoot each other.
Down you go! Ha ha ha! Now that was a proper good fight, Captain. Let's head back to the castle. Stellator has some explaining to do.
We can head back after I've gotten my supplies. How do I check my inventory? Back to the customs office. The alarm bell finally stops, but the castle is still on high alert. You can see small groups of people sprinting around the castle wall. Soon after, Alicia bursts through the door. Breathing heavily, she looks like she's been running for quite some time. Apologies, Captain. You cannot provide any covering fire, but you managed just fine. Good job dispatching those ships. So where were we? See her agitation. Attacking the castle was much of a surprise to her. Who are the attackers? Honestly, I really don't know. They must be some sort of pirates. However, they knew precisely when the castle was most vulnerable, and the ships... She paused for a second, considering if she wants to tell you. The ships were unusual. Why was there no support from the castle? I just couldn't find enough people. With everyone gone for the pilgrimage, finding a handful of soldiers took me a while, and the cannons turned out to be disabled for maintenance. Who knows what would have happened if you were not there? You must have been sent here by the Holy Light's Providence himself. Sounds like a lot of coincidences. Indeed, the attack's precise timing and the ship's quality don't add up. Let's look at it, into it, and request the Lord Inquisitor to increase the minimally allowed garrison. Nevertheless, I've checked your papers. Usually I won't do this. I can't ignore your help sending the castle. She looks reluctant. Perhaps what she is about to do is directly violating the established protocols. The tone suddenly becomes more ceremonial. Considering your help repelling an attack in the St. Isidore Castle, I, Lucia de la Torre, Lieutenant Castellan, by my authority, commend you for your valiant defense against the enemy. On the Empire's behalf, I grant you free passage to the New World. Improves test resolve, plus 10. The power of the law grants you confidence. She smiles and hands over your papers. And now, if you excuse me, I have an investigation to conduct. You wish to leave us? Head towards the mountain and turn left. There is a lighthouse nearby. Safe travels, Captain. Actually, you know what? I'm going to... hurry along for now. Given the dwindling time. Though this one probably won't get refunded at this rate.
Seems like we've done what we came for. What did Lucia say? Lighthouse to the left of the mountain. We can head straight there, but we won't be returning, so keep that in mind.
You know what? Screw it. Let's have a quick look around to see if there's any other supplies. Just swipe. Yeah, it sounds like this is gonna be a keeper one. Oh, well, nope, that's, that's a close, so never mind, we're going to the lighthouse. So yeah, well, we might do a restart properly and come back to this one. This one is definitely making itself out to be a keeper. Though it is also making me nostalgic for, excuse me. Making me nostalgic for Battle at Procyon. Even though it's not a direct ship command, it has this kind of feel. Sailing the stars, leave Cloudshire and venture into space. Road to the city, you leave Cloudshire with a heavy heart. The ambush at the castle was no coincidence. Someone knew you were coming. Caution must guide your steps now. The road ahead will only grow darker. Now you must travel beyond towards the city where the man in yellow awaits. If there are answers to be found, they may begin with him. Ooh.
All right, Captain. Let's keep moving. When traveling between the stars, let's not stray too far off course. Drifting through the void ain't exactly good for morale. So stick to the waypoints. They'll guide us through, though it'll cost us time and supplies. Every journey will eat into our stockpile, and if that runs dry, the crew's bound to get a bit twitchy. But don't worry, we've got enough to make it to the city, as long as we don't take any scenic detours.
He says I already took an extra leg. I'm gonna risk going south again. Blinking stars. You sit in the captain's chair on the commander's deck observing the night sky. A myriad of tiny dots create peculiar shapes, guiding you through the vast darkness of empty space. Then suddenly, in a blink of an eye, one of the stars disappears. Look at the spot where a star used to be. Ignore. It's probably nothing. No need to worry about it. Witness the sky forget its own constellations. Love craft. You observe the spot. For some time, nothing happens, but then you notice one more star disappears from you, then another and another. The cascading effect of the whole section of cosmos just ceases to exist. It feels unreal. The magnitude of the event starts to press on your nerves. Rationalize. This can't be real. This must be an explanation. Close your eyes and drive the delusion away. Close your eyes and steady your nerves. It takes a moment. When you open them again, you can see the sky as it used to be. All the stars are where they are supposed to be, except one. Later, when checking the charts, one detail comes to light. The star you saw disappearing was never there in the first place. Spend some time studying the maps of constellations, but you can't find any mentions of it, except a small piece of paper hidden between the pages. On it is a peculiar depiction of a star. The drawing of a star that was never there. This is a I keep calling it a stealth Lovecraft game. The title makes it obvious. It's just nothing I read mentioned anything about Eldritch Horror. You see a beam of light in the distance that differs from the stars of the sky. You noticed it several days before, but as you get closer, you can finally see its source. A lighthouse stands on a floating rock. It allows nearby ships to navigate safely in the vastness of space. As you land and set foot ashore, you see a strange woman. She awaits your approach. Welcome, Captain. You've arrived just on time. I hope the journey so far has not been too trouble for you. Tell her about journey so far in detail. Did she know that you were coming? I kind of want to ask her about the stars, and I don't know if these are mutually exclusive. I'm just gonna do this. No need to go into details. I already know everything there is to know. Almost too predictable, but that's a good thing. It means everything is going as planned. Someone must have told her. How did she know? I was told all about you by the gentle shimmering of the stars, by the soft breeze of the void. Your every move carries you along the path. Every action creates a ripple on the surface of the water. Focus. She's stuck your reels, but does she know anything specific? Who is she? Some sort of oracle? If you come to pay homage to the Gold Throne, what would you like me to tell you? The past, it won't help you much. It may confuse you. The future, know that once I do, there won't be much you can do to change it. Close her eyes for a moment. Let's see. Perhaps this will work. She opens her eyes again. The light of her lamp glows dim for a moment, intensifying the brightness of her eyes. A cry will echo, rising from the depths. One will hear it, too curious to turn away, too arrogant to flee. The unnatural glimmer of her eyes softens. The lamp shines bright. Now the future is set. All is left for you to find it. Who is she truly? It'll take more than some not. Who is she truly? The exact definition would be inconsequential and thus meaningless. You call me the lighthouse keeper. Feel free to stay at my home and rest a bit. Prolonged suffering subjects your mind to, let's say, stress. We shall meet again soon. Before you can ask anything else, she is already gone. You stand alone at the pier, the lighthouse illuminating the space around. I know I have finite resources, but I'm curious. You pass by a group of ships. They drift across the empty void, all damaged, broken, and tangled together. In the clutter, you see a massive ship of the line. Gaping hole in its hull exposes its bows. The ship is enormous, a behemoth of a combat vessel, compensating in size for what it lacks in technology. Judging by the outdated design, the banners you see inside, it must have belonged to one of the old kingdoms, a fractured group of royal families opposing the masked prophet. Search through the ship. Not much is left. It must have already been looted multiple times. What worries you is a strange sound coming from deep within the ship. Sounds like some wailing. That didn't take long. You go deeper into the ship, submerging yourself in the endless corridors, a tangled mess of semi-destroyed passages. With each step, the sound grows louder. Finally, you reach the door leading to the engine room. Behind it must be the solar core, the heart of the ship. You open it and step inside. Inside, a horrifying scene is unveiled. The solar core, which should have been dead for a long time, is active and radiates with energy. On its surface, you can see the twisted faces of the crew members. Fused into the core, they are thrashed about, screaming in agony. This is wrong. You want to get out immediately. Quick, head back before it's too late. Suppress the fear and approach the core. Given we have like 8 minutes. muster courage and get closer to the core. When the core's casing was damaged and affected the engineering crew, the core sucked them up close, trapping them in the state, now feeding off their torment. What remains of the casing are wooden splinters inscribed with incantations necessary to confine the core's powers. Runic splinters. Visit the academy to learn the artifact's power. A part of the casing used to confine the solar core. There isn't much you could do about it. It's too dangerous to disable. The core is unstable. Rig the core with explosives. Wipe clean this abomination. Souls lay to rest. Cleanse the corrupted core and free the dead. You bring some powder kegs over and place them around the core. Back to your ship, you sail it at a safe distance and fire at the remnant. A well-placed shot reaches the engine room, detonating the powder. Despite the distance, the shockwave rocks your ship. Along with the heat, it carries over a quiet sound. It sounds almost like a brief sigh of relief. Ambush. As your ship passes between the asteroids, you suddenly notice a couple of sloops and a massive gunship approaching. They fly under the colors of the Inquisition, signal you to stop your vessel. Slow down and wait for the approach. You slow down and wait for the ships to approach. A large man can be seen standing on the gunship's deck. You there, Captain Riggs is speaking. Surrender immediately. This is a restricted sector. Travel permit. You pull out your travel permit, wave it high above your head for everyone to see. Ha, nice try. Do you know how many forgeries I've seen? Hell, I've used one myself. Last chance, Captain. Shut down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Well, he's used one himself, so we're gonna fight. Now that's more to my liking. I was not expecting you to let me board anyway. See you, boys? Told you we will get some fun. Yeah. Who ordered this ambush? Some very important people. They even gave me this fine ship to get the job done. Right. Now, here's a question. Am I able to flee this engagement? No. Right, I want to avoid the big guy as much as I can to start. Get rid of his friends first. Right, now we have the big guy. Rock, please. Rock, please. Uh... There he is. I knew it was going around. I didn't think it was going around at the exact same rate. If I can stay behind this guy, I can be a problem for him. Though he may end up being able to use the rock to... yeah. How do I leave the battle now? Oh, that's how I leave the battle. That was a good fight, and I like the floating rocks to give you some tactical choices instead of the usual just, nope, you're in an open field. Maneuvering doesn't really matter besides dipping into range, firing, and running away. Actually being able to use the rocks as cover is nice. With the threat dealt with, you could continue your journey. Only the final stretch left. However, as the enemy gunship crumbled, you saw a small rescue boat dashing away toward the city. Perhaps it is not the last time you hear the captain of that ship. Onwards. At last you reach the city, the beating heart of humanity. In this corner of the stars, somewhere within waits the man in yellow. You must find him and uncover the truth behind your father's disappearance. Ooh. The docks. A busy port where military, merchant, and research vessels rest side by side. Cruise load cargo, inspect rigging, and prepare for distant journeys. Explore. As your ship docks at the port, you can see a strange man among the crowd. Dressed in a peculiar yellow suit, he springs to action the second he sees your ship. Ah, at last, I was worried. I presume you're the captain I was waiting for. He gives a courteous bow, though his porcelain mask remains expressionless. The man in yellow at your service. To what do I owe this pleasure? Act direct, show him the letter that you sent. Act polite, introduce yourself. Right, loving child of my dear old friend Leonardo. I do hope you'll be able to help. Your father is not in the best state he could have been, although it could have been worse. Father in danger? What happened? No need to worry, Captain. Your father is not in any imminent danger, not physical at least. If you wish to find him, you must first meet Professor Ravenscroft. She works at the academy and will indulge you in all the minor details. Would really love to stay and chat with you, my new friend, but alas, duties call. Is there anything else you want to know before I go? Man, appears most peculiar. Wise man yellow, help me. Reason? Should everything have a reason? Do I help you just because I can? Am I even helping you, Captain? Some do believe that all actions are reactions, involuntary consequences of past events. But what does that mean that you have no choice in the matter? I surely hope that's not the case. With that out of the way, I bid you farewell. We will meet later. I wanted your help with one other task. Safe travels and bon voyage. He gives you another courteous bow and half strides, half trots towards the port exit. The academy must be closed at this hour. You may wait until morning to meet Professor... You may want to wait until morning to meet Professor Ravenscroft. Busy port with military, merchant, and research vessels rest side by side. Cruise load cargo, inspect rigging, and prepare for distant journeys. Tavern, a favorite stop for starfaring captains. The tavern offers warmth, a hearty meal, and a moment's peace. Beneath its low ceilings and warm beams, stories are shared, alliances formed, and troubles briefly forgotten. Explore. Steps in the tavern and meets Salt. Look around the tavern and approach the barkeep. Ah, customers, welcome, welcome. Name's Salt, the proud owner of this humble establishment. Take a seat, will you? You look hungry. Stay standing, you prefer being rude. Salt submerges into the kitchen and quickly returns carrying a bowl of steaming lentil soup. It tastes relatively palatable. Well, what do you think? Honesty or flattery? Honesty. Hey, that's already better than last time. Still getting used to this thing. He shows you his right hand. A shiny metal hook reflects dim in the lights. Ask about the hook. Just a reminder of my former past. I used to walk on a slippery slope until I was caught. For my crimes, I was sentenced to have my arm burned off. Burned? The usual punishment for thievery. But it was a good thing, so to say. Set me straight in the right course. The Inquisition may sometimes look heavy-handed, but the approach works. You can hear an angry shout from behind a closed door near the counter. Salt turns toward the source of the noise. By the light rigs. Just give me a minute. He turns back to you. Sorry, Captain. My brother got injured recently. He's his wounds just too. Let Salt attend to his brother. Another shout can be heard. I'm coming, all right. By the stars, you whine like a little girl. Sorry, Cap. Need to go. By the way, he takes out a bottle from under the counter. Here, I've heard you've helped some folks back at Cloudshire. They asked me to pass you this small present of theirs. Salt winks at you and walks inside the inner room. Got the strong brew. Visit the academy to learn artifact's power. Thick, bitter liquid that warms the chest and steadies the limbs. Alright, take a rest. You head to one of the rooms upstairs. It's a cozy room with surprisingly clean sheets. Looks like the innkeeper really tried to make the place comfortable. You lay down and shut your eyes. You will need the rest. In the morning, you will head to the academy. For whatever reason, the man in yellow wasn't particularly helpful. Hopefully, Professor Ravenscroft can tell you more. Actually, you know what? Here's the save. Or is this an auto-saving? This is probably auto-saving. Last save 23 seconds ago, it auto-saves. This headache is getting the better of me. So I think we're gonna pause this. Maybe come back to this game sooner rather than later. I think I need to call it here, because this headache is beyond me. But interesting game. I like it so far. Feels a little Spartan, but not. It's not. You know, it's probably just being in the tutorial area, which I think it is still. I think it is still in early access. So I mean, being in early access is definitely going to be a thing. You know, in terms of they could waiting for more to be added, so I'm not too worried about it. I don't think like I said, I am going to try to stream some more this week. There we go. I'm gonna try to stream some more this week. This headache is just getting the better of me, so I'm just gonna have to call it here. Early stream. I thank you all for hanging out and watching. I hope you've enjoyed. Looked at some neat games. I did not get through all the indies that I picked up. May decide to do another grab bag for to get through the rest of them. Maybe we'll be back to regular schedule. Well, actually, no. If I manage to do extra streams this week, I can just do those on those days. That will be best. I don't think I have any other announcements or heads ups. I thank you all for hanging out and watching. I hope that you have enjoyed. Be safe. Have a great week. And I will see you in the next stream. Take care.